Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode. This is one of your co-hosts, Specialist Garrett Dackel with 11th Corps Signal Brigade.
And this is Sergeant Cynthia Ramirez from First Half.
And this is Corporal Kyra Pearl with 11th Corps Signal Brigade, and you're listening to Fort Hood's
Great Big Podcast.
And we're back. And I have three gentlemen with me. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Doug Huddleston from the Garrison Safety Office.
I'm Lee Salinas from the Garrison Safety Office.
And I'm T.C. Kaufman from the DPW Safety Office.
And I'm sure from those introductions that our audience can tell we are talking about safety today. So what does Fort Hood and the Army view as safety?
Well, the U.S. Army and the Fort Hood view safety as its responsibility to its soldiers, civilians, families, and the public.
Okay. And are we going to talk about any specific programs or aspects of safety today?
Yes, the first one we're talking about is the 3 R's program. I'll get into what the 3 R stands for, but...
Okay, good. I was about to ask.
So the U.S. Army 3 R's Explosive Safety Education Program and its 3 R's message are the basis for education programs informing soldiers, their families, civilians, workers, and the public of the hazards associated with munitions, and they may be present on this installation. So this same message is applicable to and used for education-related munitions that are not within current installation boundaries. The 3 R's program is a proactive nationwide effort to advise individuals of the actions to take in the event they encounter or suspect they have encountered a munitions.
So are you saying a munition or ammunition?
A munition.
Okay, so
And-
is that the same as ammunition, or are they...
They are both the same.
Okay.
So ammunition and munitions is the same.
Okay, so there's just some Texas slang that I wasn't understanding there for a second.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. All right, so what are the 3 R's, sir?
So the 3 R stands for recognize, retreat, and report. So if you happen to find munitions or ammunition anywhere on the installation, the first thing you want to do is recognize it. The second thing you want to do is retreat. Retreat means get out of the area. A lot of times we tell people to go back the way you came. We don't want you moving forward, just move back. Try and figure out some type of area whether it's a street name or if you say it's by a tree, when you call the 911, it's going to be pretty tough for them to find it. So just try and get some points of where you think you may have seen it. And the last thing is you report it. So we'll get into, if you were on the training area, you would call range control at 254-287-8203. And that right there will activate the range control to go out there and figure it out. They'll call 911 for you. If you happen to be on a cantonment area with the Fort Hood boundaries, you would just call 911. When you call 911 and you tell them you found a UXO, an unexploded ordnance, they will activate everybody for you.
And then if somebody doesn't remember the term UXO, would they be able to just say they found ammo?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Unexploded ordnance, UXO. So I know a lot of these are military terms, but these programs are also geared for civilians. We don't want, sometimes it happens, but if you happen to find a UXO or unexploded ordnance or something that looks like it's dangerous, it's really for the public to know what to do as well.
No, of course. It's better to take precautions than to bulldoze forward.
Correct.
I know on this sheet you have a nice little visual for the 3 R's. So it's like a stoplight, red, yellow, green. And I really liked imagining that as you went through them, because the first one was recognize. You see what's going on, stop, don't do anything. You don't want it to go off or something crazy. The second one was retreat. Like you said, you have to be very, very cautious about the way you're going about it. Go back the way you came. So it really fits with the yellow, amber color of a stoplight. And then report, time to take action. Pick up your phone right now.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure our audience got that visual because it really helped me.
Well, the audience will also see this. We're starting to put a lot of posters for our program out. You'll see them at the commissaries at PXs. You'll see them. Hopefully we'll get them out to the gyms. So this, like I said, this program is really to reach everybody on this installation. We want everybody to be aware of what could potentially be on a very active military installation.
Definitely, of course. And is there anywhere that somebody could reach out if they did want to learn more about this or help their own company, building, group of people get information on it?
Sure, of course. So there's two ways. One way, they can call the Garrison Safety Office at 254-287-3459, or there is a 3Rs website. So if you wanted to do an individual training, you could go to the 3Rs website at https://3rs.mail. And that right there, there's a wealth of information on that website, not just for training, but it'll also show you what some ammunition may look like, new, old. There's just a bunch of information, and it's not CAC driven, so anybody can get on that website.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because a lot of .mil websites can be a bit wonky for civilian computers.
Yeah, so it's when we do these outreach programs and we talk to the families, we let the parents know, especially if you live on a military installation, that this is a bunch of information that you should go over with your kids, just in case they happen to be at a playground or something, and somebody kept a souvenir and it found its way in an area where children are. So there's a lot of information on this website that will help parents teach their children about the 3Rs program.
No, yeah, that is a big thing to highlight for sure. I'm a parent myself, and I can't even imagine what would I do if my son just came up to me and was like, "Look at this, Mom."
Well, I'll tell you a story. So one of the things I tell when we do these outreach programs to the children and the teachers is in Temple, I think it was mid last year, a child brought home an old pineapple grenade. Thought it was a toy. Of course, Mom found it and realized this was way too heavy to be a toy. Called the Temple police. And then our Fort Hood, we have a Homeland Response team. They went out there and had to dispose of it. It was actually a live grenade.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And this happened last year. I don't know the exact date, but last year, like summertime.
Oh, this is recent. How did it even get in Temple? That's insane.
Souvenirs. What happens is soldiers brought these back. The pineapple grenade is a very old grenade, but they brought it back. We don't know how it made it to the Temple Park.
Yeah.
That's where the child found it. But they
insane.
bring it back sometimes. Veterans, they die, and then their souvenirs are left. And then when people find them, they think they're toys.
I think that's a really good point to mention, too. If you don't know what something is, just be careful.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the important aspects of this particular program is that, commonly folks are going to associate munitions, ammunition, explosives and stuff with the military operations of Fort Hood. However, Fort Hood's been around and in this area for a very long time. And I think one of the things that we want to communicate to the listeners and the fans of the Fort Hood's Great Big Podcast is that this is a program that you can apply whether you're within the fence line or the confines of Fort Hood or out in the general public. My wife's family has been one of the original settlers of Central Texas, and it's not uncommon to find UXOs or ordnance or munitions subsurface or under the surface of the earth on their ranch or in the Lampasas River. So it's just real important for folks to just apply those same concepts that recognize, retreat, and report. If they identify anything that they feel appears odd or potentially hazardous to them or their family, and you can apply that to anything. This is, we live in a really hazardous time, whether we're talking about UXOs, munitions, or anything else, cardboard boxes with wires hanging out. You can apply the same concept to that scenario, and essentially protect you and your family or your coworkers from harm.
Yeah, and the public needs to know that we have Fort Hood, here at Fort Hood, we have a 24-hour response team that responds to any of this. So we have the trained personnel to go out and handle these UXOs or these souvenirs. So parents or anybody, the public, shouldn't take it up to themselves. We have trained professionals to go out and handle these these UXOs and dispose of them correctly.
I'm so glad you shared that story. All I'm thinking about right now is like, dang, my SFRG, which is Soldier Family Readiness Group, really needs to make sure that everyone's getting this training done, because that's insane.
Yeah, and that's really, with military operations, with our soldiers that we have on the installation, there could be that feeling or that complacency that sets in because they deal with munitions and explosives all the time. And so there's that known risk, that known hazard associated with what they do day in and day out. But where we've seen great success is that outreach that we've done with the schools and families, things of that nature. And, the Garrison Safety Office has a ton of information that's really geared towards the family and children. They have, what's the character's name? Sergeant Wolf. Yeah.
Oh.
So, there's a lot of stuff that helps kind of a sensitive topic or maybe a potentially scary topic like finding munitions in the park. But there's a lot of material out there, and the Garrison Safety Office has that material that can help parents talk with their children, or again, we can come out and talk with schools and families, or even family support groups. We can get out there and provide training and awareness to those folks as well.
And so I know you said the office themselves has this information available. Would we be able to use the same phone number listed earlier for that?
Correct.
Okay.
So anytime you need any help with the 3Rs or any information, we also have a bunch of outreach stuff to give to children and families if they want them. They're free. We have Frisbees. We have, that's right, we have coloring books. I'm trying to think of everything we have. We have a bunch of stuff.
Stickers, coloring books, posters.
All the things kids love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It even comes with the crayons. So, I mean, it's really a great program. We've had a lot of success, especially coordinating through the DPW Environmental Office. They do a lot of outreach things in respect to environmental with the local schools and community cleanup efforts and things of that nature. And so we take advantage of those opportunities to get out there and talk to the community.
And then I know you mentioned earlier that ammo or munitions or ammunitions, whichever name you want to call it, that it comes in a lot of different forms. Could you describe how it looks so that parents and civilians or anyone really can recognize it better?
Well, it's really hard to describe what they look like. Most of the ammunition that you will find has been covered up in dirt. Very rarely are you going to find a nice, shiny grenade or bomb or something just sitting on the ground. A lot of times it's going to be something that's been covered up for many, many years. And that's a good thing about the 3Rs program is we don't try to tell you exactly what they look like, but we tell you if you've never seen it before and it doesn't look familiar, that you should treat it as a UXO, unexploded ordnance. A lot of times people think it's going to be something shiny like you see in the cartoon sticking up out of the ground, but that's not how it is. It's something that just looks like a rusted old round metal can. And that could be the tip of a grenade the tip of a bomb or a rocket or something like that. So it's hard to explain it, but on the 3R's website and a lot of the pamphlets and the posters that we do have pictures of what old munition could potentially look like.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And then I know you've also mentioned that it can be whole or it could be in pieces. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full-on munition to be dangerous.
That is correct. Some of the stuff that you will find out in some of the areas are they have fired it and it didn't go off, so it's half or whole of it's still there. But the thing is if you find this stuff, just to know to stay away from it.
So another thing for parents to consider are video games. There's a lot of video games out there that essentially the whole goal is to run through the environments within that game and collect munitions, collect ammunition and grenades and things of that nature. And I think it was on our outreach event at Salado, at one of the elementary schools in Salado, you could really see the excitement that the children brought to the table when we put a lot of these examples of different munitions out on the table, and how willing they were to go out and reach out. They wanted to hold them and these things, and they're desensitized a lot, video games and TV and things of that nature. So And that's another reason why it's really important for parents to get out there, utilize some of this material and have these conversations with their children. Hey, this is great when you see it on TV and it's, it's Hollywood or on your video game and what have you. But, in real life, the objective is not to run over there and immediately secure this munition or this UXO because of the potential that, hey, this is real and this will cause real harm.
A lot of the children knew exactly what we had on the table. They were calling it out. Hey, this is a grenade. That's a RPG.
That's insane.
Yeah, they knew all. It was very surprising. I don't play video games, but it was very surprising that the children already knew. And like TC said, they wanted to go up and touch it, and that's the main focus is these are real. This is not a video game. We don't want to collect these. We don't want to touch them or move them. We need to leave these alone.
Well, that makes me really glad that you guys have been talking to the schools. I know earlier you mentioned that you do give these briefs to school teachers or personnel, because I'm sure, like, if kids are taking an interest in these things, we used to have show and tell back when I was in elementary school, so I can just imagine something dangerous being brought into the classroom, heaven forbid. But yeah, that is crazy. I am so glad we got to talk about this today. Was there anything else that the three of you wanted to bring up while you were still on the podcast?
I just wanted to go over the Recognize Retreat report one more time, just so that, to hit that home run so that everybody understands. So just, recognize, like we said, it's hard for anybody to recognize what ammunition may look like or munitions. So, but if it doesn't look, but I tell people, if you didn't bring it and you didn't leave it there, don't take it with you, no matter where you're at on a military installation or outside in the local areas. The first thing is recognize it. Second thing is retreat. Always go back the way you came. Just make sure that you're not looking around for the stuff. Just go back the way you came. And the last one would be report. So if you're on the cantonment area or you're on the training area, just to make sure that you call 254-287-8203, and that's range operations. If you're not in the range operations area, just call 911. They will, like I said before, the police know exactly what to do when somebody says they think they found an unexploded ordnance. So even if you're off post, you can call 911. They know exactly what to do as well. So just recognize, retreat, and report.
The benefits of living in a very well-known military area.
Right. And they're very good at it because they know the support's going to come from Fort Hood. Fort Hood provides all the UXO support. Our Homeland Response Team they're amazing. Anytime they're called up, they know exactly what to do. They're always prepared. So they definitely take care of the public and Fort Hood as well. So shout out to the Homeland Response Team.
Whoop, whoop. And then I know, aside from the 3 R's, we also wanted to talk today about other safety measures in regards to power, I believe it was.
So, one of our goals is to talk about emergency preparedness. Fort Hood has been subjected to a number of different emergencies over the years, especially in recent years. Last year with Winter Storm Uri and all the different experiences we had with that. Primarily, the big one of interest to everyone was the outage. Maybe not so much here on Fort Hood, but in our local communities, power outage was a huge impact to a lot of our households and our families. And so, we wanted to just take the opportunity and to talk about folks about emergency preparedness in general. There's a lot of resources out there. There's ready.gov, there's FEMA.gov. There's also really good resources on the AmericanRedCross.org. And all those resources are really good. They have a lot of great information about how to prepare yourself for a myriad of potential emergencies or hazards that one could be subjected to. Typically what you've seen in recent years is the anticipation for an emergency, like the projection for a winter storm or something like that. And the first thing that you see is everyone rushes out and starts emptying the stores. Even Lowe's, you can't find a generator or a fuel can or things of that nature. And that speaks to preparedness or our lack thereof. That tells us that our community is not prepared if we're waiting until the week of or the days prior to a potential emergency or even the day of an emergency and people are just emptying the stores. or the phone lines are going crazy because we've experienced some emergency and really people aren't prepared.
I definitely can relate to that this year. Thank goodness the freeze was not as bad. But everyone, I feel like we were all a little bit triggered from last year's, and the stores were definitely packed to the brim the days leading up to Thursday when the freeze was supposed to begin.
Yeah, and this conversation could go on, with the tips and recommendations and key points to preparedness. I mean, this conversation can go on for a very, very long time. One thing that I like to promote to folks, if they come through our first aid and CPR course at the DPW or something like that, I like to promote. There's FEMA has an application for your smart device, as well as the American Red Cross has a first aid application for your smart device. And in that first aid application, there's also a tab or a resource for preparedness. A lot of our folks, one of the ways that I typically connect is I'm a kind of a country boy. I live in the rural area. I enjoy being in the rural areas. I don't like being in the city where it's busy and there's a lot of folks around. But what do? If you're out in one of those rural areas and one of your family members has an emergency? It's hard to remember all the different responses to all the different or potential emergencies that your family could experience. But that application, I mean, if you had something there on your smart device, of course, call 911. But if you had something there on your smart device that walks you through, getting through an emergency or something, I think that's a great tool to have. And since we're all so attached to our smart devices these days, why not put something truly useful on your smart device?
TC, you bring up a good point about being prepared. Last year's winter did prepare me, and I started preparing for this year's winter, even though I didn't know how bad it was going to be in the summer.
That is way earlier than I started preparing.
So when we were talking about the freeze for this year, I was actually prepared. I was not prepared last year, though. Got me by surprise.
No, definitely. I was very lucky. I live on post, so we didn't experience as many issues as people elsewhere did, unfortunately. But this year, a couple months beforehand, I was like trying to get extra water, make sure we had everything good for my son. He still uses formula, so we need water that's working. And I know last year one of the biggest issues was the pipes bursting and everything, or warmth, of course. Were there any other specific tips? I'm really glad you mentioned the applications because apps are, most people have a million on their phone. You may as well add one or two that are actually going to help you in the case of an emergency. But was there anything else specific tip-wise that you had, sir?
Yeah, I think with a number of the emergencies that you may experience, I think access to electricity is always going to be one of those common things that we run the risk of losing. So just having general tips in place or being prepared in place in your home, should you have an outage, things like your food. Obviously, everybody's going to be concerned about what's going to happen to my food. How long is the power going to be out? Is my food going to spoil? Things of that nature. And so one of the things that we learned, especially with Uri last year, is, if you don't have to access your refrigerator, don't open the refrigerator. The refrigerator is essentially just a big old cooler. Even with the power out, and even though the compressor and the refrigeration is not working, they're very well insulated. And so if you can minimize either the frequency or the amount of time that refrigerator or freezer is open, you're going to extend the life of the food within the refrigerator. If you have a capability. So one of the things like Lee was discussing, I learned a lot. My community learned a lot about power and how long we could potentially be without power. So I personally went out and got a home generator, got it wired in, got all the transfer switches and safety devices in place. So my home could be self-sufficient. And then my community, since we generate our own water, we went ahead and we're now investing in backup power for our well system. So we'll still be able to generate, water for our community. So, if you have that capability, if you own your own home, pursue. Look into getting a home generator, or if you have a generator that's not connected to your home, remember the safety aspect of running a generator. Only operate that generator outdoors. Don't operate it in your garage or inside your home. If it's going to be close to some type of, an access point for your home, like you're running the power cords through a window or through a door, invest in carbon monoxide detectors inside your home, because you run the risk of, that exhaust coming into your home and elevated levels of carbon monoxide. Do not use your gas stove to heat your home, especially if you're not going to maintain visual contact with your stove, because should that pilot go out, you're gonna not be pushing gas into your home, and you'll have a fire or explosion hazard. If you're anticipating an outage, so if we have severe weather coming in, lightning, severe lightning, things of that nature, you're going to want to make sure that you've prepared and protected your sensitive electronic devices. So either you have surge protection for things you need to be operating through the storm, or just go ahead and power down and unplug those sensitive electronic devices so you don't risk damaging them. If you have family members that have medical conditions, plan for that. Especially if it's a projected emergency like severe weather, speak to your physician or your child's physician and try to get access to additional medications that could push you through that potential emergency. But again, we can go on and on about preparedness, the different potential emergencies that you need to plan for. The one that I would stress is have a home emergency action plan for you and your family, and make sure that you know how to account for your family at all times and where they're supposed to meet if your area has been hit by an emergency, things of that nature. But again, those applications, they all have tons of information. Any of the safety offices here on the installation, the Garrison safety office or the DPW safety office, will be glad to coach and mentor the community through any preparedness concerns or questions that they have.
I'm really glad you mentioned having a plan and a set location or whatever for your family to meet up, because I think a lot of people don't think about it. I know I didn't, but during these sort of weather issues or potential power outages, the cell towers may not be fully working. You don't want your only means of communication with your family to be what's in your pocket, because if for some reason you cannot utilize your phone, that's going to be a very panicked situation for sure, especially if you have like teenagers or kids or anything.
Yeah, I drive my kids crazy. I've got them on Life 360. My whole family's on Life 360, and I know when they're at work. I know where they are, in the building at work, what speed their vehicle's traveling in. So yeah, it's just unfortunate that sometimes our times can be scary, with all the things going on. But be prepared and know how you're going to protect and care for your family should emergency happen.
And I know you just mentioned driving, sir. And I know last year during the freeze, a lot of Texas as a whole, the power went out. So we've definitely had situations where street lights and other driving necessary things haven't been working. Are there any tips for how to handle those situations?
Yeah, so that's a good one. Overall, considering, when traffic lights go out, what's the state law or rule that you have to use? So you're treating, when you're coming up and you have to get out, obviously first responders don't want us getting out on the roadway when there's something major going on, but it could be as simple as treating, a four-way intersection as a four-way stop. So remember, I think we need to remember the key thing is life-saving, getting EMT vehicles through. We're secondary to that, although if you have an emergency and you have to go somewhere, but some really bad accidents have occurred. As TC mentioned, many of us don't all live on post. If you live off post, we have some major intersection, farm to market roads that you may be living off of. You approach those, you need to stop, look both ways. It's just really prudent to do that. It goes back to the, and if I might add, communication. So obviously texting or talking when you're driving is not a good idea. There's a little bit of element that people need to consider. So if you're out driving, you have to be out driving. And these cell towers that are around, there's a misconception they're all going to work. They're probably not going to. Cell tower companies, communication companies, they prioritize which cell towers are going to be active. They may not have backup power. So primary is battery power, then generator. But if that generator does not get serviced or looked at, that tower is going to be down. So when you're out there and you're trying to communicate with your family, just realize that may not be an option. But if you're trying to do that while you're driving and the lights are out and it may be at night, you're actually creating a greater hazard if you're out on that road. So be cognizant of that.
I didn't even think about driving at night. I was just thinking stoplights are going to be out. But no, that makes, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's important if you do have to go out during one of these storms or the power outages, just be courteous. Don't be in a hurry. And give yourself a little more time to arrive. If you're already running late, I always tell people, if you're running late, you're late. It's better to show up 10 minutes late than not show up at all because you got in a hurry due to not being lights out. So you got to be courteous and give yourself enough time to show up to wherever it is you're going.
Oh, yeah. Take all the safety rules that you already know that you should be doing in your car and turn up the volume to max because you actually need to be following them.
You really have to drive very defensive. Especially if you don't have any lights,
It's also good. I was just sitting here thinking when TC was talking about it, when you have a family readiness package plan, what if you have, elderly, grandmother, grandfather, whatever it may be, if there's someone you're actually, kind of need to check up on, have you included them in the plan? So it's a holistic approach that FEMA really and Red Cross puts into these checklist items.
Everything keeps coming back to these apps, y'all.
It does. So, but if you if you have a loved one or somebody that you'd be concerned about, have you thought about that? How you're going to get access to them? And considering the things we've talked about, maybe cell phone, your internet may not be working in your house. If you have backup power, great. You can buy these little power packs. They will charge cell phones. They might run a laptop, but they probably won't run a router for your internet or something. So think about that. Maybe food for thought.
It's a very good point. A lot of people feel like they cannot survive without Wi-Fi, so be prepared in the case you have to. And then I know while you were speaking, okay, let me just telling myself right now, I am horrible with directions. I use Google Maps for everything, so try to make sure that you know directions. You don't want to be stuck trying to go somewhere. You already have all these issues with potential power outages, lights not working, and now you don't even know where you're going because you don't know where you are.
And I think one of the other things I'd like to put a plug in for is, typically the springtime and then early fall are periods where Central Texas is receiving a lot of rain, and it's not just a lot of rain. Sometimes it's a lot of rain in a very short period of time. So one of those things to consider is, your route to the hospital or your route to work, things of that nature, where you may have to cross a low water crossing en route to that. Be cognizant of that and have an alternate route.
I forgot all about those.
And then, and since I'm DPW, one of the things I want to make sure that we stress is if any of our tenants here on the installation have challenges with their facilities, the number to call to get to the DPW work reception is 287-2113. Now, keep in mind, if the installation's having an emergency, it's likely that we're going to have a lot of call volume. Example, if the installation loses power or a portion of the installation loses power, a lot of folks are going to be calling the DPW telling us that, their lights went out or, their computer went out or what have you. Please just be patient. But the number is 287-2113.
Thank you so much for saying the number twice, sir. And before we let y'all go, is there anything else that you would like to add or say?
What I always kind of have to remember, if we're depending on the event, and TC mentioned rain, we can start to get into bad weather, down power lines if that occurs. If you see something in the road, I don't care if it's a low water crossing or a down power line that you're not sure about, what should you do? Turn around, don't go over it.
Use the 3 R's.
State of Texas has a lot of stats on that, and the fatality rate is quite bad. So it's something to be aware of. Keep everybody safe out there.
And I would just stress, use your safety office. I mean, there's a number of us out here. And we love helping the community. We love helping the soldiers and families on Fort Hood. So please, if there's a question, if there's a concern, if there's a desire for some type of information or training that we can facilitate, please reach out to the safety office, and we'll do what we can to get somebody out there to help you or answer your question or address your concern.
And if we don't know, we definitely have a wealth of resources to help you.
Oh, I'm
if
sure.
we don't have the answer or the training material, but we have a wealth of information that we can get to you.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming in today and sharing all of this amazing information with us and our podcast listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Colonel Chad Foster, the Garrison Commander for Fort Hood. On 15 March, we will be conducting an installation-wide DoD-mandated energy resilience readiness exercise that will allow us to gather data about our utilities infrastructure. That data, in turn, will allow us to make good decisions in the future about how to use resources to improve that infrastructure. This exercise was originally scheduled for 2020, but due to the effects of Winter Storm Uri, we delayed the exercise until this year. If you have any questions or if you just want to know more about this upcoming exercise, please visit www.forthoodpresscenter.com/power outage, and you can learn more about what you can do to prepare and what the importance of this exercise truly is. Thank you.
The Fort Hood Spouses Club annual Wild West Night charity auction is Friday, March 4th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Ferris Well in Killeen, Texas. Admission to a night under the Lone Star is $35 per person. Admission includes food and drinks, live entertainment, and a live and silent auction. Come out and take a spin on our dance floor or take a ride on our mechanical bull. Our silent and live auction is full of amazing items that has something for everyone. Admission tickets are open to the public and are limited. Visit the Fort Hood Spouses Club Facebook to purchase yours today. All profits from our Wild West Night goes to our Community Outreach Grants program. We hope to see you there.
Well, it is so amazing that we had that great interview today about power outages and what to do, because as our PSA just told you, we have an upcoming power outage Fort Hood wide on March 15th for Erie, and if you want to hear any more about that, we will be talking about it on our next episode next week, so please tune in. But until then, we have to do a short segment for Traveling Soldier, because it's the end of the month. Yay. Oh yeah, we have Blair with us. Hi.
Can't forget about Blair. Come on.
So what were the Traveling Soldiers for this month?
So this month we went to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, the Czech Heritage Museum, the Bell County Museum, and the Railroad Museum. I probably butchered the name, but it's a museum about railroad stuff in Temple.
Okay,
So, yeah.
nice. What was your favorite?
The Sports Hall of Fame.
Really?
Definitely. Yeah.
I'm not the sporty one here, so.
It's all right. I got this.
He's prepared.
But yeah, it features athletes that were born and raised in the great state of Texas. That doesn't mean they necessarily, had their careers at teams here in Texas, but all of them were born here. It was my favorite because the displays were really, really cool. They had a Big 12. For those of you that don't know, it's a conference for college football. It's got TCU, UT, A&M's not in it anymore. Are they? No. Baylor. So those big players there. They've got, and it looks like a big football field.
Oh, that's
So-
cool.
That sounds
Yeah.
really cool.
It's super, super awesome. And then they had a big tennis exhibit, which I was kind of surprised by.
Yeah,
I mean,
Really?
yeah, I played tennis in high school and I love tennis, but like I didn't expect to go into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame and see.
see a bunch of
tennis
tennis.
section.
Yeah, you know, it was squeezed in there in between all the big football, things. But, and then a lot of they had some interactive things, like you can compare your walking stride to an NBA player's. I realized how painfully short I am. Like I'm like doing the splits because I'm 5'1". I don't even know who the player
Oh
was that
my.
they based this off of, but I was like doing the splits, trying to like match
Oh my
his
gosh.
stride. And then they have an interactive game. You can play football. You can do throwing accuracy drills, soccer, same kind of deal. Baseball, softball. My arm is not what it used to be. I was just happy when I broke 40 miles an hour.
There you go.
So
40 mimiles an hour? That is fast.
You should see what the professionals
I know.
throw then.
What are they? What?
faster than that.
Oh my!
I think the records, correct me if I'm wrong, now like 108 or higher.
Oh
yeah,
my
for
Lord.
baseball.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
baseball.
That is faster than most cars drive.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh my! Faster than they're supposed to drive at
Well, yeah.
least.
It's faster than my car can go.
But they had a lot of my alma mater, UMHB's got a couple things in there. They won the 2018 national championship for Division III football.
Ooh.
Yeah, so they have a picture in there. They actually won last year too. So go Crew. And then the former head coach Pete Fredenberg was inducted also. So he
nice.
has a big picture of himself in there as well. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and even my roommate, who's not as into sports as I am, really enjoyed it. And I think that was because of the interactive
No, yeah.
things. And there's a lot of stuff you wouldn't expect. There's bowling, and just kind of some random things I didn't expect.
Did they have a golf section?
I think they did, but I blacked out.
What?
I hate golf. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on.
And look, I've never played it like actual golf. I've done mini golf. I like that. But like, I know it's not the same. I know.
yeah.
He's looking at me.
It's
He's
not the
judging
same?
me.
It's no.
Oh, well then I don't
It's
like
definitely
golf.
not.
I only like mini golf. If it's not the same, then I don't like it.
But like, I mean, I go and photograph it all the time. That's my interaction with it. So, I can only get the same picture so many times before
Yep.
I'm like, in the golf cart. So I'm sure it's fun for people that play. Everyone's told me, oh, you got to play. It's fun. I'm sure it is, but I haven't tried yet. So
It's different because some
Yeah.
people that love golf can't watch it.
oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
I've learned. So I'm the exception. I love to watch it. I'm
just
weird
weird
like
all
that.
around.
Yeah, I'm weird like that. But I love golf in all its aspects, and I might have to go to see if there is a section.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, any sport you can think of, there was.
I mean, if they have a bowling section.
Yeah. It was like a little small
That's so
thing.
cute.
That's
yeah.
awesome, though.
Yeah. And I mean, anything you can think of, it's got everything. And so I was really surprised. But yeah, the majority is football. They even have a high school section. Temple's in there.
From all those years they won, right?
Back in the day. I mean, they're still good now. I'm sorry, Temple people. But like, yeah, Texas is a big state. So like to have been featured in there at all is impressive.
Right.
But, and I don't know of any other state that would have a high school football section. So,
That is a
I mean,
good point.
maybe. But yeah, it was very interesting to kind of go through and see the things I did expect and the things I also kind of didn't expect. So yeah, it was fun.
Very cool.
I always love this segment. As Daco said, it clearly gives people opportunities to go check something out.
Yes.
I hope they have a golf section to cure your
Thank you.
curiosity.
Thank you. I am dying to find out.
I'm going to pray for you all the time. I'm concerned.
Don't worry, I'm definitely screwed up there in the brain.
But thank you so much for sharing with us the Traveling Soldier. If you'd like to hear anything more about all of the Traveling Soldiers from this month, please check out Fort Hood Sentinel. .com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah,
There
they're
we
all
go.
online. Yep.
They're all archived for everyone's reading pleasure. And until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
This podcast is a U.S. Army Garrison Fort Hood and Fort Hood Public Affairs production. The show's theme music is written and produced by Delicious All-Stars. All our music is obtained through Filter by Song Trader. Have a question or want to share some insights with us? Email us at forthoodpao@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at USAG Fort Hood. And as always, be sure to leave a review and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.